This is a bathroom sink. We'll show you the different components of the plumbing system, how it all works together, and some common things that we see and maybe how to fix. So the first thing we're gonna do, get my head out of the way here, is to take a look at the basic plumbing configuration. So the water obviously comes down from the sink, through the piping, into the main drain line, and down into the main drain, which goes out to the city sewer or a septic tank if you're on septic. So looking at this is a trap. This is called a P-trap. So we know this is a P-trap because the water comes down, goes through this trap, goes to the main drain line, it goes down, but there's also a piece of pipe that goes up. And what that does is on top of that pipe, there's gonna be an air admittance valve, or commonly called a Studer vent, that allows fresh air intake into the plumbing system, keeps the right pressure on the system, and prevents sewer gas from coming back inside the home. Now you'll see either that kind of vent, or you will see a wall vent that goes out through the roof. Those are those little PVC pipes or cast iron pipes that are coming out the back side of your house. You can assume that if this P-trap is running into the wall and you can't see the vertical pipe that goes up, you can assume that it does and that it's properly vented. Sometimes they put those air admittance valves inside the wall. Sometimes it just runs straight up through the roof, out the roof, and brings that fresh air in. So we see S-traps is when you have the trap that comes down here and there is no upward spot for a vent, and it just goes basically here and straight back down into the main drain line. So that's going to prevent the venting. It can often siphon the water out of the trap, which we'll talk about in a second, and allow sewer gas to come back inside the house, as well as some bubbling and gurgling that may happen. So the reason that traps are important is because there is actually going to be a little bit of water that sits here in the bottom of that pipe pretty consistently that prevents sewer gas from getting back up into the system, into your sink, and into the air where you breathe, and it actually can make you pretty sick. That's also another reason why S-traps may not be the best thing for your plumbing system, because it dries out that trap or can suck the water out of that trap and allow sewer gas back in. So you're gonna see this kind of configuration where you have a trap and a vent on pretty much everything that drains in the house. So either it's gonna run into another drain, which is vented, or you're gonna see it going down into a trap and into a drain. So your laundry system is going to be done that way. Your showers and your bathtubs are going to be done that way. Your sinks are going to be done that way. The exception is actually your toilet, which is self-trapped inside the actual toilet. So if you look underneath in a crawl space or something like that, where the pipe is connecting to the toilet, there is no actual trap there because it is trapped inside the systems and components of the toilet. So let's talk about the common things that we see inside homes underneath sinks that can cause issues for you. So we talked about trapping. S-traps will typically pop up in the early 1900s, pre-1950, old pipes that haven't been updated, as well as what we call handy dad repairs, where people who don't know fully what they're doing get in there and reconfigure the pipe and end up with an S-trap. Now, the most common thing that we see underneath a sink like this is going to be pretty minor leaks that usually are pretty easy to fix, and it's usually a loose connection or maybe a clog that's forcing water out through these different connections. So making sure that these are tight, but they're not overly tight, and making sure that as water's flowing through that you're checking all the different areas. The most common places that we see it are in the sink connection here. So maybe you just need to add a little bit of extra putty to it and resecure it, as well as a really common one is back here, and that's the drain stopper. So the drain stopper can come loose, especially if you're moving it up and down a lot, where that screw on the backside can come loose or maybe just become uneven. And then that water leaks out from the backside and causes a lot of sink leaks. So again, the most common things that we see are going to be small leaks that happen underneath your sink. They're also pretty easy to fix unless you just have bad configuration. So if your sink doesn't look similar to this, which was done by a professional plumber, then you might need to get somebody in that has experience with that kind of piping to make sure the configuration is right, to make sure your plumbing system is operating the way that it should.